السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. ونشهد أن محمدًا عبد الله ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا فصلوات الله وسلامه عليه. We begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him because He is worthy of praise. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from the evils within ourselves and the evil consequences of our actions. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send His peace and blessings upon the last and final messenger, upon his family, his companions, his wives, and all those who follow his way until the end of time. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. We remind one another to be people of taqwa, which means to be conscious of Allah in your decisions and your affairs. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among the muttaqeen. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen, amma ba'd. Let us walk with Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala an as he was approaching the gates of Jerusalem. And the Archbishop of Jerusalem at that time, before the conquering and the opening of Jerusalem by the Muslims, he was the governor or the sultan, so to speak, of that area. The Archbishop refused to give the keys of Jerusalem except to the Khalifa of the believers, to Umar al-Khattab, radiallahu ta'ala an. And Umar al-Khattab, as we know him, the humble, sunnah-following man, approached the gates of Jerusalem while he was walking and holding the mount, the reins of the camel in which his servant was riding at that time. Umar al-Khattab's clothing was worn out, rags, in comparison to the Archbishop, who was wearing a big red hat with gold all over his body. And the Archbishop was ready to give the keys over. But as is customary and traditional among politicians, they negotiate. So the Archbishop tells Umar, let us negotiate. And Umar radiallahu ta'ala an says, I thought about this on my way here, and I think we have something we can agree on, but let's walk in the city while we discuss. So the Archbishop said, let's go. As they were walking in the city, Umar radiallahu ta'ala an says, in terms of our conditions, we ask that immediately the Roman politicians leave Jerusalem. And the Archbishop said, that's reasonable. What else? Umar said, that's it. That's it. That's the only condition I have. Just the politicians can leave peacefully, and that's it. And the Archbishop was absolutely shocked. He's like, what do you mean, that's it? When we Romans enter a city, we pillage, we loot, we burn parts of the city just for fun, and then we claim it our own. How is this only your condition? Umar radiallahu ta'ala an said, we were not sent to pillage and to loot. That's not our role as Muslims. This is a brief summary of how Jerusalem came under the political control of Muslims. And there's more details here. And today, or in this month, it is said that Isra al-Mi'raj had occurred, where the first moment where the Prophet ﷺ steps foot in the holy city of Jerusalem, thus linking Islam to this blessed city, it occurred in this month. And there are some lessons that we can take from this moment, from this event. But let it be a reminder to us and a message to the world that the way we Muslims view any land, especially that of Jerusalem, is that we are meant to serve that holy land and the people who inhabit it. That we as Muslims are meant to create civilization. We are meant to cause civilization to flourish. We are meant to be a source of good and a source of life, not a source of exploitation like the Zionists, not a source of treachery like the Zionists, not a source of racism where we make certain people superior by merit of their skin color or their lineage or who their mother or father is, like the Zionists do. But rather, as Umar al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala an took the keys of Jerusalem without there being mass corruption or chaos or a displacement of the people of that land, we as Muslims here in America need to let the broader community know that is our vision when it comes to dealing with the racist, treacherous, warmongering Zionists of today. And so when we look at Isra and Mi'raj, let it be a commemoration not only of the fact that this is a holy land of ours, and there are lessons that we can draw from it, but rather let it be a commemoration of how Jerusalem came under the control of Muslims, peacefully, where Muslim, Christian, and Jew could live as neighbors side by side without making this hierarchy where some are superior and others are inferior, where some bits and pieces of the land become ghettos and slums and concentration camps in order for the personal gain or in order to exploit those people for their own political or economic ambitions. So when we look at Isra and Mi'raj, we have to take the lessons from it. And among those lessons, number one, is the fact that the Prophet ﷺ ascended from Jerusalem and not Mecca. When the Prophet ﷺ got this command to go to Jerusalem, he had just lost his wife Khadija, radiallahu ta'ala anha, his emotional support. He had just lost his uncle, Abu Talib, his political and social and tribal shield. The da'wah has come to a screeching halt. It's as though he has hit a hard wall. It's not going anywhere. And so in his mind, in his heart, it seems like he hit a point that is rock bottom. There's nowhere else to go. In fact, a Ta'if had just occurred as well. Where can I go? What can I do? Just like our brothers and sisters in Gaza today, they are standing and sitting helplessly at the borders of Rafah. There's nowhere else to go. Where can they go? It is so bad that even our current government has finally said, of course for political reasons, we understand this, but he has finally said Israel has gone too far or something along those lines. That is how bad the situation is. And as we look on to this terrible situation, we might think it's done, it's over. But the Prophet ﷺ was in a similar corner. And in that moment, Allah said, to take this journey from Mecca to Jerusalem, why not just go from Mecca? It may have seemed meaningless. Well, what's the point of going to Jerusalem? What does that have anything to do with what's going on here in Mecca and my da'wah and my mission? But he went, alayhi salatu wasalam. And there, much happened. There, a great message was sent to the Prophet that for the first time, Allah tells him, you're not just a prophet. You are Sayyid Bani Adam. You are the leader of humanity. So don't think what you are going through is meaningless, despite externally it seems meaningless. We have people today who might be going through a test of physical disability, or maybe their child is a special needs, or maybe they find themselves in a certain circumstance, and it just seems meaningless. Remember Isra and Mi'raj. There's nothing meaningless with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rather, Allah plans everything in your life, no matter how difficult it seems or how joyful it is. Everything is for a meaning, for a wisdom, for Allah is Al-Hakim. He is the All-Wise subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing happens except with His wisdom. It is then upon you to understand the meaning behind it, to make meaning from it, to use that as a source to get you closer to Allah, higher ranks in the afterlife, to serve a greater purpose. I mean, look at Yusuf alayhi salam. From one test to another test to another test, and maybe it seems meaningless at the time, but all of it was meant to prepare him to save the lives of countless people. Had he not gone through those tests, maybe he would not have been prepared. So whatever you go through on your personal lives, remember, there is a meaning. It's about you finding it and embracing it. And now I'm hearing a lot of people say it's pointless to vote. It's meaningless to vote. Why should we? It's always corruption upon corruption. No matter who we vote for, it's always a bad situation. Maybe things aren't dandy, we know this, but it's not meaningless. It's not. And even if you don't vote for anybody, simply submitting your ballot empty has a meaning, has a purpose. The fact that you exist and you are a demographic within America and you have a vote goes a long way when it comes to putting pressure on our elected officials. Biden has said what we saw him saying today or yesterday. Israel has gone beyond the limits or something along those lines. Where did that come from? Other than from the fact that he's afraid of losing the elections because of the pressure we're putting on him. McDonald's has announced that it had not reached its margins or its profits that it expected. Why not? Because we put the pressure on it. Starbucks, the same thing. It's not meaningless, dear brothers and sisters. So don't say voting is meaningless. it is meaningful, although you might not see the results immediately. So remember Isra and Mi'raj, a seemingly meaningless journey that in fact had tremendous meaning. The Prophet took the journey. Had he not taken the journey, he would have lost that meaning. And if you don't take the opportunities that Allah has made for you, you will lose the meanings. Second lesson, problems will end. Problems will end. After Isra and Mi'raj, a year or so later, that is when the Ansar first meet the Prophet ﷺ. As the Prophet ﷺ thought that I have hit a wall, there is no point beyond this. Allah was preparing Medina simultaneously at the same exact time to host the Prophet and to serve as the ground zero for the da'wah. The Prophet had no idea. As we look at our brothers and sisters at the border of Rafah, we think there is no faraj, there is no way out. We think it's an end. They might think the same thing. But la'allallah, perhaps Allah is already preparing a way out for them, and we have no idea. So we must continue to do what we are obligated to do, what we are told to do, to strive for the cause, to strive for our brothers and sisters, to continue forward and not have the attitude of nothing matters. It does matter. And I remind you that for 200 years of Islamic history, the Crusaders and the Mongols wreaked havoc in the Muslim world. And after those 200 years, the Ottoman Empire came and the Mughal Empire came to bring 400 years or more of stability and peace in this ummah. This will happen. But you know what the beautiful thing is? When we think about the heroes of history, they're not the people who lived in stable times. They are the people who lived in the chaotic times, and they took the banner, and they strived, and they struggled. You'll have that opportunity to be remembered in history, to plant the seeds for our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren to have a better future so that you get the reward of their peace and their prosperity and the good that they do as a result of the efforts you put in today. Muslims don't have the attitude of it's hopeless. وَلَا تَيْأَسُوا مِنْ رَوْحِ اللَّهِ. Do not despair from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. إِنَّهُ لَا يَيْأَسُ مِنْ رَوْحِ اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْقَوْمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. It is only the disbelievers who despair from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. So plant the seeds today so that your children, your grandchildren have a better future. And last but not least, Isra and Mi'raj highlights Salah. Salah, 5 daily prayers. It is our source of faraj. It is our source of alleviation. It is our source of strength. It is not a coincidence that when the ummah is more practicing of salah, they are stronger, they are more influential, they are more powerful. And that when we neglect salah, it's the exact opposite. It's not a coincidence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about those who are driven out of their lands, about those who are attacked and assaulted, الَّذِينَ إِن مَّكَّنَّاهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ أَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتَوُا الزَّكَاةَ وَأَمَرُوا بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَنَهَوْا عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the people who will be strong and influential and independent on this earth are those who will establish their salah, number one, and they will give their zakat, and they will command the good, and they will discourage the evil. So let this day, this month be a reminder to take care of your 5 daily prayers. If you are not taking care of your 5 daily prayers, I remind myself, before I even remind you, that is the first thing Allah will ask you about in terms of your iman. Did you pray your 5 daily prayers? And the Prophet says, if your 5 daily prayers are good, everything else will be easy. But if it's not good, it's going to be difficult. So be merciful to yourself and establish these 5 daily prayers. Be merciful to the ummah of La ilaha illallah and establish your 5 daily prayers. Be merciful to the future of ummat La ilaha illallah, because it depends on us establishing our 5 daily prayers. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. Upon returning from the journey of Isra and Mi'raj, The Prophet ﷺ informed Abu Lahab or Abu Jahl of what happened, the miraculous journey, only to be met with ridicule and mockery. They made fun of the Prophet ﷺ, obviously. They used bad akhlaq, whereas the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr responded with the most beautiful akhlaq. So as we deal with these terrorists, the Zionists, we must maintain our akhlaq. But we shouldn't go far. We should look at our own area. Recently, our masjid received many complaints from our neighbors about people parking in places they're not supposed to park. If that's not bad enough, these same people, or some of them, as they are leaving, they'll be met by management and say you can't park here, only to curse at them, to give them the finger, to mock them and say screw you, and this type of thing. Our own security here is complaining about the akhlaq, the character of some people. Ya akhi, ya ibishum alayk. Shame on you, man. You're coming to the masjid. You're coming to the masjid. They know you're coming to the masjid. They know you are a Muslim. And when you behave that way, what is the image you give to them about Islam? That we are bad people. I understand it's 1, 2, 3 people, but that's enough to make all of us look bad. There is plenty of parking on the side, on the streets. There is no shortage of parking. And you're parking in a place where elderly and sick people go, the medical center, but they need a parking spot. So have compassion on them and walk a little bit longer. And if you're coming late, well, try and make it a little bit earlier. So don't make the image of Islam and Muslims bad because of your attitude. And I remind you of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about those who through their akhlaq, through their character, their bad character, divert other people from Islam. وَتَذُوقُ السُّوءَ بِمَا صَدَدْتُمْ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. You will taste a painful punishment for driving people away from Islam. So this is very serious. Come to the masjid, park where you are supposed to park. Don't park in places you're not supposed to park. And remember that your behaviors reflects on Islam and Muslims, whether you like it or not. And you are accountable for that. And so we are going to take stricter measures, and we will be working with the medical center to start towing cars, even though they're trying their best not to tow. Wallahi, they are very polite people. Very polite people. They say, we don't want to tow, we don't want to tow. We're telling them now tow, and we're going to help you tow. And we'll take some of the cost of bringing a tow truck. Because if that's the only way we're going to learn, then so be it. Right? So maintain your akhlaq, and remember that an ummah of akhlaq is an ummah that will thrive bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help our brothers and sisters in Palestine, to make for them a way out. And in light of al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, and in light of all the efforts of our dear predecessors, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make a way out for Palestine, the people of Palestine. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turn it into a peaceful land, a land that is accessible in a humane way. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uproot the Zionist thugs. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. And once again, do not park in the neighbors' parking lots. We received many complaints. Any vehicles will be towed at the owner's expense. Please make dua for Sister Nawal Asil, who passed away, and for Sister Samira Saad, who also passed away. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on both of them. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. The family will be accepting condolences here at the masjid tomorrow between 3 to 6 p.m. We are encouraging our community to vote. Please vote before February, please register to vote before February 20th. There are booths outside for more information. Our hike tomorrow has been postponed due to the trails being closed, due to wet and muddy conditions. Our annual bazaar is Saturday, February 17th. OCIF is starting a new Quran Academy on Mondays and Wednesdays with Sheikh Saif. Please see the flyer outside for more information and for the age group. OCIF is collaborating with Signs of the Divine and bringing a unique Muslims marriage retreat and rejuvenation to our community on the weekend of April 20th and 21st. The flyer is outside. Waqim as-salah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
استووا استقيموا. Shoulder to shoulder, make sure your lines are straight. Remember, perfecting our lines is part of perfecting salah. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. سبحان الذي أسرى بعبده ليلا من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى الذي باركنا حوله لنريه من آياتنا إنه هو السميع البصير وآتينا موسى الكتاب وجعلناه هدى لبني إسرائيل ألا تتخذوا من دوني وكيلا ذرية من حملنا مع نوح إنه كان عبدا شكورا وقضينا إلى بني إسرائيل في الكتاب لتفسدن في الأرض مرتين ولتعلن علوا كبيرا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. وقضينا إلى بني إسرائيل في الكتاب لتفسدن في الأرض مرتين ولتعلن علوا كبيرا فإذا جاء وعد أولاهما بعثنا عليكم عبادا لنا أولي بأس شديد فجاسوا خلال الديار وكان وعدا مفعولا ثم رددنا لكم الكرة عليهم وأمددناكم بأموال وبنين وجعلناكم أكثر نفيرا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.